everyone. Welcome to another episode of Your Way with Noe. My name is Noe, and joining me today is actually a very smart man, very good looking guy, once again, that I have on my show. Cybersecurity blogger and expert, Jonathan Gonzalez, aka God's Little Macro. How are you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good. Happy to be here.
All right. So I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, your credentials. I think that's probably one of the biggest things people are going to want to ask first of all when it comes to cybersecurity. I guess your education will be where we would start.
Yeah, so once again, my name's Jonathan Gonzalez, and I've had a passion for cybersecurity ever since high school. The way it started out is I went to a field trip in my gifted and talented class when I was in eighth grade to UTSA. And I went and, a lot of professors and stuff were telling us, eighth graders, like, hey, if you do well in high school, you can do this or you can do that. But one of the things that kind of piqued my interest was cybersecurity because this was maybe 2010, 2011. They were still really getting it off the ground at UTSA, but they were really kind of landmarking themselves as one of the main campuses for that degree program. So I kind of looked at it and I said, that's what I want to do. So luckily, I had the opportunity in the fortunate scenario to being able to apply to a magnet school in my district called Business Careers High School, located right on Ingram Road in San Antonio. And with that, they actually had a cybersecurity specialty for students. So you would go there and you could do accounting, finance, business management, or cybersecurity. I kind of took the cybersecurity track, I ran with it, and I was able to, take a lot of entry level classes, in high school, but also get a few of the basic certifications out of the way, like the Security Plus. So when I graduated high school, no brainer, I went to UTSA to get a degree in cybersecurity, but also information systems and digital forensics. And with that, that's where kind of the high school helped me. I was able to get my first internship pretty easy. One of them through a friend we know, Alman. He helped me, but definitely having that Security Plus certification in high school helped me along that process. And I just pretty much did the classes, did extracurricular opportunities to supplement that knowledge. Continued getting certifications. I got the next one, certified security analyst, my junior year of high school. And then by the time I graduated, I had 4 internships under my belt, from all aspects, basic help desk, doing little tickets, resetting the router to my last one which led to my full-time job, was at CrowdStrike in the Falcon Complete department. And, that was a little more incident response, forensics, really into my degree program and my minor. I started my big boy job at CrowdStrike as a Falcon Complete analyst in June, right after graduation. I've had maybe about 4 to 5 years of, kind of experience.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say I'm an expert at all. I'm still, one of the things I kind of realized working at CrowdStrike is, it's one of the best cybersecurity companies. So you're working with some talented minds. I mean, I always like to say working on the team can be a little bit intimidating just because so many of the people, like they're gods in cybersecurity, like you walk down the street and if you're in cybersecurity, you say, oh my God, that's this guy. That's this guy.
Wow.
Yeah. So I always like to say, it's kind of like working at the Manhattan Project in the 40s, you have all the building the A-bomb and I'm in the room with them, but I'm more the janitor, just kind of like looking at the board saying, yeah, sure. Okay. Trash? No, but it's been a great experience, and Yeah, it feels like I've been doing cybersecurity for a long time, but all things considering, my first real job has been less than 6 months.
Mhm.
So, it's a little bit of both. Feel like the rookie and already a little bit like, can I retire yet?
And all that passion that you have for this job has led you to actually creating your own content when it comes to cybersecurity. So can you tell us about your site?
Yeah. So, I guess it really stemmed my blog creation really stemmed from I honestly my high school my college experience. I realized during my college experience, from the organizations I was part of and everything, that I was mentoring a lot. I was helping people in my degree program, outside of my degree program, with cybersecurity things, breaking into cybersecurity, applying for internships, helping them with their resumes. Maybe it was the freshman student who kind of did marketing and they realized I hate marketing. And I would say, okay, well, maybe cybersecurity is for you. And maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But I realized that I was spending a lot of hours kind of saying the same things over and over again to like 20 million people. So I kind of realized when I started this job, one of the great things about working at my company was they were very keen on mentorship. So they'll tell the analysts, hey, in 6 months, once you're onboarded and stuff, we want you writing blogs, we want you, giving talks at presentations. We really want every analyst to not only be technical, but also being able to, public speak, pass it forward, to people who wanting to break into cybersecurity. So I kind of thought I might as well get on that right now. So I created a blog. It started out with a Twitter first, God's little macro, and um, I created the blog, and I've done about 3 posts so far within the last 3 months. It's just with COVID, schedules been chaotic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I told myself once a week I'm a post, and that is not happening. I realized that angle of making sure your work gets done, making sure you stay fit and exercise, and then sleep. And somewhere I'm trying to figure out where to put that blog. So I'm trying to do stuff as it happens. For example, right now I'm doing a 3 to 4 part series of kind of the beginners aspect of cybersecurity. And the way that came up was there is this organization called Cyber Texas, which does a lot of mentorship for cybersecurity use. So, for example, when I was in high school, there was this program called Cyber Patriot. And basically, y'all are in teams, ninth graders, 10th graders, and you guys are doing little exercises in teams and their championships. You go to nationals, if you're in JRTC or whatever, they have divisions that do that. So we did that. And Cyber Texas kind of created those groups, sponsored them, hosted a big banquet. So I've always kept really good relations with the leadership there because they've also done a lot to build the curriculum at UTSA. So one of them, he was the executive director. I believe now he's retired, but he reached out to me and said, we do a newsletter. We would love to mention your blog, but also, do you have anything for, the entry level people? And I said, you know what? No, I haven't written anything, but I would love to write stuff. So I did part 1. Part 2, I'm hoping to knock out next week. And got a little sidetrack. I'm actually writing a blog post right now. I don't know if you saw, Barnes and Nobles got hacked.
I
Um,
saw that on your Twitter.
yeah, I was a victim. So I'm definitely going to try to do a deeper analysis of that. I kind of spent some time with customer support this morning trying to figure out what I could find out because they were like, "Oh no," they basically just read that email back to me, and I was like, "All right, I want to see what I can dig out of this." So most people would say, "Oh no, I'm breached," and I'm like, "I'm breached. All right, make good content out of this. This is quality." So I'm hoping to make something out of that. But
It's
yeah,
like it's like misfortune is a little bit of a blessing for you when it comes to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like, ooh, dark web, my credit card? Bring it on. Let's do
uh,
this. Am I buying elephants or something in Thailand? All right, let's
uh,
do it.
I guess people want to start there. You said one of the magic words when it comes to cybersecurity that people love to talk about is the dark web. And I mean, I feel at some point if someone's a little bit witty with computers, they've been able to get on what is it, Onion or something,
The
and
tall onion router.
yeah,
Tall. Yeah, it's
yeah,
like
and
Rovit that does it.
yeah, and like they had their cousin that was like, "Oh, I know how to get in the dark web," and they go and they click in there and stuff. But what really goes on in there? Like,
So, uh, okay. Try to think what doesn't put me in the slammer for 15 to 20 minutes. Um, so basically, dark web is just the part of the web that isn't indexed by search engines, et cetera, et cetera. Kind of like the graveyard, but also, things that don't want to be found.
Mhm.
Uh, so it is very easy, used to be a little bit harder as far as there wasn't that much knowledge out there. But now it's easy. You just watch a YouTube video, you set up Tor, Onion, um, you're on there. I mean, you're in Grand Theft Auto, basically. But so you have, there's two sides of it. You have this side that just is kind of like the graveyard, not indexed, which is a lot of regular sites, not very interesting. And then, of course, you have the default stuff. And I have been on the dark web once or twice, to the darker stuff. And, everything from guns, drugs to the much darker side of humanity is on there. Um, the problem is right now it's a very um, I took this class at UTSA called cyber law. People took business law, cybersecurity majors were able to do cyber law. And the one thing we kind of realized about this nation regarding cybersecurity, politicians don't understand it. And because they don't understand it, they're not able to legislate it. So, the biggest question is, will SWAT come in my door if I look at something, you know?
Mhm.
And it's not that clear. It's more of, maybe SAPD won't show up at your door, but maybe Time Warner Cable will send you a cease and desist letter because your internet traffic isn't supposed to go there. Uh,
Mhm.
so yeah, it's just regular stuff. And then pretty much whatever you thought of it, it's that and worse. Like I said, I was on it once. I think I saw like bottle of pills and some credit cards. And then I was like, too deep for me. No. It's not like I'm Edward Snowden or whatever.
Mhm.
People are going rally outside the prison gates for me,
Yeah.
yeah, nobody's coming to my jury hearing if I get arrested for this. But yeah.
I guess I started off like I just went into the deep side of the pool from the very start.
Oh,
So
you dived, you gotta get your feet wet, Be like, oh,
yeah.
credit cards, okay, and then yeah, but a lot of intelligence goes into the dark web. As far as cybersecurity, let's say if you want to work in cybersecurity, there's a lot of jobs where security companies monitor the dark web for their clients' credentials, any information, So let's say a company subscribes to the service of cybersecurity company A.
Mhm.
A person who works at cybersecurity company A is on the dark web, just constantly monitoring it. And then one day, they may find, that client's employees info, whatever. And that's when they got to talk to that management and say, hey, we found some stuff on dark web. It's not just one employee, because a lot of times it's
Mhm.
not just one employee. It's a whole, calling log. It could be a shipping manifest, something big like that. Um, It could be, how to remote into the server. They'll put those credentials up, so now you have network information, server information, and whatnot. So yeah, working in cybersecurity, you can definitely do that. But also, a lot of times you will do intelligence. Intelligence is a big thing in cybersecurity. So it's not just working for a client. It's, hey, let's say if I'm researching this malware or this virus, um, that's used by Iran, that's used by China, North Korea, you're going to track it. And let's say if it hacks a company, finds whatever data it finds, what does it do with it? Does it say, hey, pay me 3 Bitcoin and we'll give it back to you? Or does it just put it on the dark web? Maybe it does both. Maybe it waits for you to pay and then put it on the dark web. Truth is, a lot of ransomware will give you back your stuff if you pay. But some of them are just like, okay, cool, we're going to put it on the dark web anyway. So that's a no.
Recently, I think it was last year, there was a big thing about ransomware. I know there's multiple, but there's one in particular that the media just caught on, and they were like,
WannaCry?
I think so, yeah, and they were just stuck on that note for a while, at least for like 2 weeks on it, and it was interesting learning about like how ransomware really works. Can you? I guess let's go into that. How do hackers get your stuff? I mean, I guess that's what most people would be interested in. Like, how do they get my credit card? Like, how do they get all the
Um, man, so many avenues, man.
really?
Honestly, yeah, yeah, that's the truth. It could be, um, companies are not patching their software, their computers. Uh, we have security researchers who find these vulnerabilities and they report it to the companies. Sometimes they get paid, but they, tell it to a company so that they can fix it. Other people, do security research for more malicious means. So they will find vulnerabilities, they will make them public, and the truth is, um, we still have a lot of companies running Windows XP, Windows 7. Yeah, through my internship, there was a client who was running Windows XP. So when they asked for vulnerability scan reports or trying to see what their environment is like, we kind of told them, hey, you're not doing so hot. You run Windows XP. We haven't used that since Clinton was president or whatever. Uh, but the thing was, they're shipping software, their credit card software, whatever. There isn't a new version for them. So it only ran to XP, and maybe they didn't have the money, maybe they didn't have the resources to upgrade. And that's what happens. You have a lot of companies that are kind of, I guess, held hostage to outdated software. And
Mhm.
maybe management doesn't put security in the budget as a priority, but they don't upgrade. So you just have more and more vulnerabilities being found um, in their environment with them not doing anything, and that's where they kind of have to assess the risk of, hey, is this a risk or not? Now, as far as ransomware, there are a lot of different avenues, but I would definitely say the most common I've seen is definitely phishing. I'm sure you know about phishing.
Yeah.
Someone will send you, "Hey, your credentials are locked out. Your social security is invalid or whatever. Call this number. Your Microsoft account is invalid, but Microsoft isn't spelt correctly. Maybe there's two T's. What happens is, you click it and it can do multiple things. Maybe it's a fake website on the link that has a fake credential portal in which you put your login or whatever, you put your credit card information, and it captures that. Fake website capturing all that with you not being anything the wiser. But also, there's a lot of different avenues. Let's talk Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel. If you, yeah, yeah. I deal with this every day. If you do not know who sent you that email, go flag them down or delete it. Don't open a Word document or Excel document if you are not 100% sure. What happens is, sorry, I'm trying to think of how I'm going to name this.
Put it in layman's normal terms.
Yeah. So basically, someone sends you a document saying, I get a lot of it. I signed up for Indeed when I was job searching, like my junior year. So I get a lot of random, like Saudi Arabian, Middle Eastern companies saying we will pay you like 50-some thousand to be an administrative assistant. And then they send me a Word document. And I'm sure that Word document probably has like a job description or like a sample of what they want. But let's say you open it, right? And it will say enable macros at the top. Do you want to enable macros? And macros are basically just little kind of tools and stuff in the Word document that kind of helps it along. Don't ever do that. Don't ever enable macros if you are not 110% sure. So what that macro button does in a malicious time, a lot of the time, is it will activate a script, a PowerShell script. PowerShell, just for anybody who doesn't know, is basically the command prompt. You ever typed in CMD on your computer and that black box turns up? PowerShell is just kind of an updated scripted version of that. A lot of people in cybersecurity, IT do it to push updates to their environment. You can do everything, download files from the web from it, create folders, delete folders, manage services and processes on your computer. So, but what it can do is do web requests to servers, to website and stuff. So basically you click that enable macro button, it launches a PowerShell script to an IP address. And this IP address, 9 times out of 10, is a server. And what we call it is a command and control server, a CNC. And basically, that's the bad guy server. It has tools. It has, it's being monitored by the bad guys. Maybe not every day, but has the bad stuff on it. So basically, what that document is saying, once you click enable macros, is, hey, we got this dummy over here who wants to get hacked. Yeah. So hey, we set up this communication. Go ahead and drop your stuff onto this computer. So what it will do is, inject stuff in your computer. It may download a bad executable. It may start, I don't know if you ever played a game or something and it started run slow and you go to Process Explorer and realize Grand Theft Auto is taking like 200 gigabytes of RAM, whatever. Yeah, so it will inject bad processes to run the executable. It will maintain persistence. And persistence basically is, let's say you delete the executable, just executable, and you think, you're fine, and you reboot it. Well, persistence basically says it's going to do it all again. It's going to re-inject itself all again. So you have persistence, and that's a scheduled task. Basically, when the computer boots up, it does a scheduled task. Like when you download software, it says like, do you want it to launch on startup? That's a scheduled task it's creating. So you'll basically, that malware is basically saying, hey, I'm going to launch on startup. I'm going to start wreaking havoc on startup. So, it does schedule tasks, registry keys, which registry keys are kind of like, don't touch them if you don't know what you're doing. Mess up your computer. But basically, it's just kind of another artifact that puts itself on the computer.
Mhm.
I need to explain that part better. That's a blog. That's a
It's a
blog post.
that's a blog right there.
The registry is a black hole of knowledge. Like you think you know it, and every day it's just. But it's another artifact on the computer. So yeah, it has all that stuff on your computer. So not only that, but it starts downloading other tools. It may be the executable, but it may have other stuff that can kind of help the malware pivot itself not only from your computer, but let's say if it's on the computer and it has all the other tools, it'll say, okay, who else is on your network? What other computer?
Oh no.
So I don't know if you ever done a network share, gone to a company where, maybe you can see there's a shared network file between you and your coworkers.
Oh yeah.
It'll go to that and it'll
Oh,
say,
fuck.
yeah, because then you know who's on the network share. And that's why it's so important. Basic hygiene, if you're at a company and stuff, if you're in IT, you shouldn't be able to see finance or accounting's network share because and that's how it happens, credit cards or whatever. You may say, the malware may be on one computer and say, where am I? And it's like, oh man, I'm in the janitor's computer. Who gave the janitor computer? But if there's a network share that says finance, accounting, shipping, operations, marketing, sales, you have all that financial data and you're able to just move,
That's crazy.
if they have a unsecured remote connection, maybe they're working from home, but it's not secure. Um, they found their way into your home. So yeah, I hope I kept it as non-technical as I can.
Yeah.
I gave a presentation on one version of this malware to a group of, I think they were sixth graders at UT Austin last summer.
Oh,
And
really?
the blankness in their eyes. I was like, what's his name? Jeb Bush at the debate like 4 years ago. I was basically just like, please clap. Yeah. And then, once I told him I had stickers, all hell broke loose.
Oh my god.
But no, so you have that malware, right?
Mhm.
And that malware isn't always, the ransomware. It's just kind of leading up to the ransomware because then it tells the server, hey, this is all the info we have. And then the server says, all right, let's drop the ransomware. And basically, what it does is it encrypts, ransomware encrypts the victim's file in which you can't access them at all. Ransomware, there's a bunch of different ones. For example, we have WannaCry. That's the one you were talking about. And that's a big deal because the guy who kind of helped stop the attack. So,
wow.
yeah, it's a very like anti-hero redemption. He actually didn't go to prison because he helped. Like the damage would have been 10 times worse if he didn't. So it's a great story. There was a lot of blogs, a lot of podcasts. You should definitely listen to it. He's a great guy. And he contributes to the community so much. I can definitely send you that information later. But basically, yeah, so you have WannaCry, you have the new ones like Ryuk, all Y-U-K. You have Wasted Locker now. And basically they're different because, they do different encryption methods, as far as the variables encrypting it. But also they have different extensions. So, when you get that, when encryption of the ransomware is successful on the file, basically you'll see your Word document and it will say Word.docx or whatever, like normal, but then it will have a dot, let's say Ryuk, and I'm not 100% sure this is a extension, but after that dot doc or whatever, it'll say all KZ or whatever.
And so, there, it's infected.
Yeah, exactly, and that makes it a little bit easier to identify, what am I dealing with here. because that's when you kind of need to have a good threat intelligence knowledge at your company to kind of say, okay, I'm dealing with this malware, which is, sometimes this country, this
Mhm.
country, this country. And, you can tell a lot of the times, for example, some malware, ransomware is so old that, it's not necessarily this one person anymore. It's, now everybody and their grandma does it. So now it's a little bit, it makes it a little bit harder. And, sometimes if you're lucky, you're able to find the key online to decrypt it.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, if it's old sometimes, but a lot of the times, you're not. Um, the honest truth is, you either pay it, which a lot of companies do, and that's where it becomes a gamble. A lot of times they will give the stuff back, and a lot of times they won't. The second option is, how important is this data to you? For
Oh,
example,
you kind of just like have to
yeah,
make a decision like, well,
so that's why
screw
it's
it.
important for the IT teams, security teams to have backups, because a lot of times it's not that. Oh, it can be not that bad if they have a good security hygiene. Because let's say if they encrypt everything, they ask for the equivalent of, let's say, 4 million. And a lot of times you can kind of negotiate with these guys, but also that's more less time you have. They give you a
Mhm.
time limit a lot of times. Um, yeah, but if you are a security team and you say, "Hey, we just did a backup a week ago," that's kind of where you got to do that cost analysis of how much are you actually going to lose as far as manpower, as far as resources. So, a lot of times it may be, hey, we lost five, tally up all the work and everything. We lost $1.5 million. Well, they're asking for 4 million. So, it may be more cost efficient. Just go back to that backup. But that's where the problem is. You have your government organizations, and that's where it kind of goes back to the government doesn't understand cybersecurity that much. So, you think of, the CIA or whatever, but
Mhm.
those aren't the ones getting attacked. The ones that are getting attacked are your local county offices, your local school districts.
The small town, like
Yeah.
the small town mayor office,
The one where you got
one in
three
XP. They're the ones getting.
the one where you got three people manning, a whole organization. Those are the ones. And, with all that they have to do, and sometimes they don't have that knowledge. They're not doing backups. So that's where, you have the city of Baltimore, you have other, cities that organizations that just have to pay. There were companies and organizations that they didn't have any backups or whatever. So they had to use typewriters while
Wow.
they were going through the process. And um, through my company, CrowdStrike, and what I do basically is I respond to these incidents and I remediate them. So, for example, we get a detection whenever we see that Word document opened, and we start seeing that connection. That's when we escalate to the customer saying, hey, we found this. It's making a call to a really bad server, really bad IP address. We've seen it drop this. We are currently remediating. So, some of what I do is I kind of sometimes not black and white. Sometimes I kind of have to do a full scale investigation. I have to remove that registry key that got created. I got to kill that scheduled task. I got to kill that process, remove the executable. Sometimes if it's really bad, I got to quarantine it. I got to just put the whole computer on lockdown so it can't connect to anybody else because maybe it has the capability to already be moving around. So we got to shut that down. Um, you know, I'm searching for that Word document. If I see a Word document that got opened from Outlook.exe, and then I see all this bad stuff drop in 40 seconds later, I can kind of make a good guess, that's the bad stuff. And then, of course, that PowerShell script, the one that made the call originally, it's not black and white. The truth is, you won't see it saying, hey, make a call to this IP address and download this.
Mhm.
It is obfuscated, which means it's encoded. It's basically transformed so much. You got to delayer it 5 to 6 times. Just take it through different kind of de-obfuscating attempts to kind of decode it and trying to figure out what it does. So that's its own thing. And then you're working with the Intel teams, and this isn't just CrowdStrike, this is AIM company,
Mhm.
because these malware, they come in campaigns a lot of the times because there are certain groups that are dropping the malware. So, TrickBot is one that kind of does what I said. And TrickBot, you know, a, a lot of the time they come in campaigns as far as you'll see them dropping stuff across many companies, maybe May through June. And then they go silent relatively until November. And then I'll check my Twitter because I'm subscribed to a lot of intelligence feeds, research, and I'll see, and they'll say TrickBot is back, it's hot. And that's when, we start seeing more and more customers getting that because they're just sending emails to everybody. So, that's where you got to work with your team and you got to say, okay, this executable has been seen, in the wild, in which we call, the great internet, it's been seen by 10 other companies. There's this one website, Virus Total, in which you can run an executable and it gets flagged by all the antivirus, but also the intelligence committee. So let's say I plug that exe in there and I see it's been submitted for analysis 600 times within the last 24 hours. I can kind of say, yeah, I can kind of say, okay, this isn't targeted as far as one-to-one. This is a campaign. But yeah, I like it because sometimes I don't know if you ever seen Jack Reacher.
I'm gonna
Ryan, that's what it is, right?
Ryan.
Jack Ryan, the one on Amazon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the cool kid, I'm like, yeah, I stopped Russia. It's all right. Half the time it's not Russia. Half the time it's some guy trying to download Game of Thrones season 3, and he just something that gets stuck with it. But it's fun. I learn a lot.
There's this high technical stuff that you went through, and it's all this like amazing stuff. But then I've also recently heard about, not very recent, but it started to become more and more popular, I guess, among hackers. That it's soft hacking, which is like where they kind of act. Let's say they call someone and
Oh,
they're able to.
yeah.
How is
So
that? Was the proper term? Sorry.
social engineering.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So
It-
yeah. So social engineering is a great part of it because that the truth is when you're getting that original email, you're getting social engineered if you click it. Because the main thing the bad people rely on is the email wording. They take careful time most of the time to word it in a way that gets you very anxious and worried. And when you're worried reading that email, you're not thinking logically. And a little lesson I learned is when I was in ninth grade, I was taking my Security Plus class. And my professor or my teacher was actually talking about social engineering. And if you know me, I really like my clothes and stuff. I was shopping
yeah.
on my laptop. And he was like, Jonathan, pay attention. And I said to him, I was like, I already know social engineering. Yeah, I get it. Don't click on it. And there was this segmented room in which they did a lot of hardware stuff and it was blocked off. It was basically soundproof. So they went in there while I was kind of, we did a little assignment, taking a break. I was kind of checking my laptop, stuff and internet. And they called me as a prank. And, I'm 16, so I'm under my parents' phone and they call me under a disguised voice. He was very good with voices, my teacher. And he says, um, you have made you have made unauthorized charges onto your Verizon account. Is your phone number this, right? And, it's easy to look up someone's phone number nowadays. A lot of people put it on their LinkedIn, whatever. So, he found mine. And he said, we will contact the host of the account, which was my dad. And he said, and we will notify them of these charges. And he said, you made a star 69 or whatever the redial is multiple times. And I actually did because I was bragging about it during the class in the beginning. So, he had that knowledge. And he said it was, acting as a Verizon guy, it came up to $70. And he was like, you can either pay now over the phone or, we will basically tell my dad. And, I'm a kid under my dad's plan. So I was like, so, in the middle of class, I pull out my wallet and I start reading my credit card.
Wow.
Thinking my dad's going to kill me. And they all come out busting laughing. I got red in the face, but it was a humility, humble moment. Because that's what they rely on. They rely on you being in fear, being under that pressure of inconvenience to open that document to respond, Because let's say a lot of it now, you're doing Microsoft Teams and you're working on a project and they send you some saying that, hey, you got locked out because you didn't reset your password in time. Now we'll lock in this account for suspicious behavior. You're thinking, I don't want to tell my boss that I didn't reset my password because maybe that you clicked, remind me in 2 days over and over again, you don't want to have that conversation. So you just say to yourself, okay, I'll do it right here. That's how they get. But, it's so much more than just email or phone. Security companies will get paid by clients. You will have the chief technical officer, maybe the director of their IT security department, and they'll say, we want to see how far you can get physically into our office. And people will get paid. Those employees at the security company, they will come in a UPS outfit, whatever. And, that's where it kind of becomes the pressure of, what is socially acceptable. And that's what they play on. I watched a talk, I forgot what it was, where they said their greatest weapon is a piece of cardboard. As far as they just come in holding cardboard, and you're not going to close a door on someone trying to come in with their hands, something in their hand. So they hold the door open, because they don't want to be that guy who says, "Hey, where's your badge?" I did that once. Turned out to be a really important client. Yeah, the guy, I was like, I'm sorry, I need to see a badge, otherwise he can't get in the lobby. And they were like, oh, okay. And then the CIO basically came out and was like, Jonathan, he was like, can you see how good our interns are at security? That's how much we take that. But I was just like, oh God, I'm getting fired. But
that was a great pivot right there by your boss.
Yeah, gotta think that business. No, but they will come in, they already gained access through the door, and they gain access through another door. And, they just find an empty desk, they'll find an empty desk. And if anybody says anything, hey, I'm the IT guy. I'm pushing upgrades on the computer.
Wow.
That's where you may have, and a lot of times I say the 60-year-old lady, but it can be the 20-year-old or some who has their credentials on a sticky note in the corner of their screen. So they're looking around, already got one credential. Maybe the computer, they're able to test a few things out. Maybe they already know that person's desk username, and they just type in password 123. They're in. If not. Yeah, they look for credentials. Sometimes, hey, they'll look in the trash cans, see what they can find. They're looking for everything, not just passwords and stuff, but also, what can they find in the environment? Do people have sensitive material such as, papers, workbooks on their desk while they're gone? That's when a clean desk policy is important. You don't want financial data, password data, or whatever on your desk when you go to the bathroom. But it can be also they'll talk into them and they say, "Hey, where's your room with all the servers?" "Oh, it's in the back." "Oh, well, where's John?" "Oh, John is on his lunch or PTO or whatever. It's 12 o'clock or maybe it's like 5:15. They don't expect to. They left at 5 because it's a Friday. So he
He'll be
says,
back next week.
yeah, exactly. So it's like, man, I gotta get in there. I already talked to your boss, like Ron or whatever. Can any way you could let me in? And they'll be like, "Oh, well, I don't have the keys, but this person does." And then they'll go with you and they'll be like, "Can he get the keys?" And because she's right there, they're not going second guessed, So you have the keys, and it can go a lot of as far as one servo in they call it a rubble ducky. It's a homeless USB, but you plug it in there and maybe a calculator pops up, and it basically just signifies that you got pwned as a company. These they're called red teamers who do this.
Mhm.
These red teamers want to be caught. They hope to go in there and like I said, "Where's your badge?" Or maybe they're looking at a computer and they say, "I've never seen you here before. What's your name?" They hope, but that's where it comes down to what people think is acceptable in society as far as, "Oh no, I don't want to be that person who double guesses the IT guy. I'm gonna look like
Mhm.
it's no, what makes a company look like a fool is, when there's password 123 on a sticky note. Um, and it's funny. There is this podcast I recommend anybody, no matter if you're in cybersecurity or not. It's called Darknet Diaries, and the person, Jack, he sits down hackers, social engineer, red teamers, security researchers, hackers, as far as they've done illegal stuff. Their voices all
Mhm.
garbled and everything. But they talk about it. And there's this one guy, Jason Eastreet, who he did that in Beirut. He got hired, flown across the world to go into a group of banks and say, "Hey, y'all are getting free laptops. Can y'all just take me to the server room so I can, upgrade and all that, see what you have before I get you all free laptops and stuff?" And he got full access and he had to tell them, "Hey, guys, I was able to get in your room, without any authentication or whatever." And
Wow.
it's always funny because he always says, I will never forget, there was this one guy so sad and confused. He was like, "So do we not get computers?" And he was like, "No, right? Like, no."
You failed. You failed completely.
Fun fact, he actually went to the wrong bank at one point. So yeah, they were like, "That's not our bank." So you have guys with like guns kind of guarding him, while the IT department, security department, is decoding that little USB thing, and he's just in there going, "It's homeless guys. I swear, like I'm a and they're like, "What idiot would do it?" And all right, that's fair. But no, definitely listen to that podcast. It's good. But yeah,
You would think that's like a movie thing, like, that happens in the movies, or people have this image of a hacker being someone in a dark room in a hoodie with RGB, I guess, all over, and they're just typing away. But
oh no, dude. I have all the lights on. I don't want to hold. No, it's funny. Those movies. Those movies such as War Games. Uh, those 80s, 90s like hackers, sneakers that are really like pivotal in the cybersecurity world. But then I don't know if you ever saw a show called Bone Notice or White Collar.
Burn Notice, yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's social engineering. He does social engineering in every episode. I mean, he's getting in buildings, persona. On Twitter, I will fight people to death. Bone Notice and White Collar are the best hacker shows. Even though they don't touch a computer, they get their way in that hacking. Like a lot of people think hacking is confined to a computer, but hacking is just a way of mind. all that red team stuff we talked about. There are people who have never touched a keyboard. They just do that day in, day out. They get paid a lot of money, and they are definitely hacker.
They have social skills, like, they just have that social, like, acting social skill to get in there, just, smooth talk people into, like, "Oh, yeah," like, flirt with the secretary to let you in, and
Don't want to be too pretty. You don't want to have all. You don't want to be too ugly either. Don't want to have those eyes on you. No, I'm just joking. But definitely, you gotta be personable. Personable. Person. I'm not an English major. I'm a cyber. But yeah, you definitely want to, be able to kind of talk your way out of it. Being able to convince. But yeah.
I've actually, it's one of those videos that you watch on YouTube, like top 10 hackers in like history and stuff like that. And you see those guys, and I remember one of them, it was a really funny thing. He mentioned that he created, it was with Facebook, or MySpace. I think it was MySpace because it was so back then. And what he did, he made, I don't know, you would probably know the proper term, but he made something. And what it did was that he would friend request someone, and that one became their friend. And then that person, and then all of his friends would become his friend. And then all of their friends would become his friend. And at some point, you have the FBI knocking at his door, and they're like, "Hey, did you make this?" And he's like, "Yeah." So like next thing you know, the guy was able to, I guess, break that division that there was. Like, these are my friends, these are your friends. But he was like some able to like go through that, and he's like 16 at the time or something, but he's just super into computers, and he figured that out. And then next thing you know is like he talks about how the FBI shows up, and I'm pretty sure it was MySpace because of how old he was. MySpace ITs with him, and they're like, they take his laptop, and he gets arrested, and then he basically they put you legit off the grid. You're not allowed on the internet or to touch a computer for years, right? When your hacker gets caught.
It's kind of like, I don't know if you ever, in elementary or high school, or whatever, they gave you that form in the beginning of a year, acceptable use policy. You had to get your mom to sign it, otherwise you couldn't touch a computer. Um, I went to a high school where they gave you laptops, so you would always have that one kid who freshman year would look up porn. So took his laptop away, and they said, no, you go these 4 years doing everything on paper, and the government can do that. Yeah, they'll be like, if we see you on a computer under anything, you go to jail. I mean, regarding to what you said, I mean, that sounds crazy. I mean, the FBI shouldn't be saying, why do you have more friends than, what's his name, Tom, the guy who created more friends than Tom. We have a problem.
Yeah, and what's funny is that the end of the story, it's a little bit of a joke, is that the guy, after all these years, he finally runs his sentence, and he's allowed to get a PC, a computer.
Mhm.
Then he walks to the Apple store, he gets a new Mac, gets home, connects to the internet, makes a Facebook profile. Like, it took him like maybe 20 minutes, and then immediately he was like, I'm done. And he was like, he just started his life without the internet and all that. But it was just also a big point there, age. Like, you don't have to be this old experienced person. Like, kids nowadays, I learn stuff from kids off YouTube sometimes when something's not working, some software or something, and I'm like, I go on YouTube and expect this 30-year-old guy to like that knows no, it's this little 60-year-old kid with a crappy microphone. He's like, today guys, I'm gonna teach you how to fix it. And he knows more than I do.
Background. Like,
yes. It's crazy, but younger and younger kids are becoming good at all this like cybersecurity, like just software stuff.
yeah, when I was in high school, doing Cyber Patriot and stuff, I thought, hey, I'm doing pretty well. Like, I'm going to be a genius or whatever. And then, I talked with people at Cyber Texas. A lot of my peers who was in high school with me, they go back in math, and they'll tell me, oh no, we opened it up to fifth graders and sixth graders now. They're doing exactly what we did, but better, because they have new challenges or whatever. And I'm like, what? Yeah, these kids are they are starting to put cybersecurity in the curriculum. Not just as far as the classes, programming or whatnot, but as far as cybersecurity awareness, and that really spawns to those kids who say, "Oh, that sounds cool." Like me when I was in 8th grade at that UTSA trip, I want to either, hey, I want to be the guy who defends the network, or hey, I want to be the guy who gets paid by companies to attack the network. And they just kind of build. The one great thing about cybersecurity, as far as the talent and stuff, everything is new. There was a new knowledge every day. There was a new vulnerability. There was a new exploit. There was a new guy in China or whatever who wants to, or when I say guy, I mean group of people, threat actors who want to make themselves known. So there was always something new to know. And that's the kind of the double-edged blade. It's easy to get burnt out in this field because it's easy to feel overwhelmed. And, if you do not check your feeds for a week or two, you're out of the loop. So much will have happened. I know a lot of people who will say on Twitter, all right, guys, I'm going into the wilderness. I will not be tweeting for a month. And then let's say it's September 1st, October 1st, they'll say, guys, I'm checking my Twitter. What the hell happened? Like, society's still running. But that's the truth. These kids, man, they're something else. I have talked. So UTSA a few times have kind of said, hey, a student is thinking about coming to this college. Would you maybe talk with them? And, I get pumped up about it. I'm thinking, all right, I'm gonna tell them a few trips, my knowledge. And then I sit down and I'm like, any certifications you're thinking of? The Security Plus one is a great way to start. And they're like, yeah, I got that in 6th grade. Now I'm on the Net Plus or the CCNA. I have a home lab with 3 servers, a switch, a hub, 2 routers, and I'm running a network with 150 virtual computers. And I'm like, all right, kid, cocky is going to get you nowhere. I'll say that. I'm too intimidated. But I'm just like, do not let this kid find out where I work because he will steal. Honestly, at these job fairs and stuff I've been doing with CrowdStrike, I see a lot of these like younger people and stuff, and they're freshmen, but they have a stacked resume. They have one of those resumes where it can easily be 3 pages, and I'm just like, wow, So yeah, and with all these incidents and stuff going on, working from home, companies are having to look at their security because they're saying people aren't going to be on our network where we can constantly monitor it. How are we going to secure devices? So security budgets are getting bigger. And what happens is, even if they aren't getting bigger, a company, says we don't need security, they're getting breached, which makes them say, okay, we need to get a security budget. And, people are getting paid. There's more jobs available. But the jobs thing in cybersecurity is a very controversial topic, actually. But there is, there are more jobs kind of being available. But yeah.
You mentioned something there, career fairs and conventions. The biggest convention, can you remind me? It's CES, DEF CON at Vegas. And I've heard like those stories where they're like, you take a burner phone and you just take cash because crazy shit goes down, right? I've heard.
No, I was lucky enough to have the college pay for me to go. I just sent them an email and I said, I want to go. And they said, okay. So I flew to Vegas and I took my dad. I think my dad just wanted a free hotel trip because he never
to Vegas.
He never left the hotel pool. But yeah, so I went and I was that kid who bought a phone. I took a credit card that I was getting ready to cancel. I changed the password every like 6 hours. And there is, of course, a lot of people testing their skills there. Maybe they see a talk and they say, okay, I want to do that. they'll I don't know if you ever been to Vegas. That area, the strip,
Yeah.
McDonald's, all of them will say cash only because they're so afraid that something's going to happen with the credit card.
Wow.
So there was actually this thing called the wall of sheep, in which if you are using an unsecured network that someone will set up, there's something called a Wi-Fi pineapple. Someone will put in their backpack, and it's basically a wireless network. So, if someone's sitting down and they saying, I have no Wi-Fi, like the signal sucks, they see that network and they connect to it. So what happens is, they get that Wi-Fi pineapple, whoever has it in their backpack, and they're doing, security research as far as how many people connected, what data can I get from that connection. It's an unsecured network, so maybe they're doing man in the middle, in which uh, basically you have that the packets, the data going from that person's phone to the internet to whatever,
Mhm.
and he's in the middle just intercepting all that traffic through an application such as Wireshark. None of the data is encrypted because, like I said, it's an unsecured network, so you're able to see passwords, everything in plain text.
Wow.
So McDonald's Wi-Fi, a lot of them, they're unsecured sometimes, and you never want to be on one. But there's something called the wall of sheep, and it's just a huge screen in one of the rooms, and it puts your IP address, your username, your password, if you are using an unsecured thing and get caught. So,
It's like a wall of shame. Like your big shame.
that data and just feed it to the thing, and you'll see Bob something at hotmail.com password. And you never want to see yourself in it. And they do such wild things at DEF CON. Someone put an ATM in the middle of the Caesar's Palace floor. It
Oh
took
my God.
about 45 minutes for someone to realize. Think yeah, that.
Wow.
They do not only just basic hacking stuff, they do hacking of IoT, which is Internet of Things. Internet of Things is basically anything with an IP address. And now with today's technology, it's not just computers, it's coffee pots. It is your Samsung fridge, the new ones which have screens.
Oh yeah.
If you saw on YouTube, someone was playing Doom off of it. But there's vulnerabilities in that. Someone can hack your thing, your fridge, maybe give you round ice instead of cube ice.
People were talking about cars, like that one of the biggest fears is cars, right?
Yeah, definitely. You have Tesla, you have, I think GM's coming out with one that's a
Mhm.
huge thing. And there was actually this one, and I think they were from Japan or UC Berkeley. They were a group in which they had a Charger, like a Dodge Charger there. I want to say it was a Dodge Charger. It was a muscle car and way too expensive for my taste. But you got it, right? It was like a simulator. You got in the car, you start trying to drive it, and there was a screen projected of kind of a road. It's kind of like a little Dave and Buster's arcade game. But it's wired or wireless, I can't remember, but it's connected to a network in which they're trying to hack it all. So you start driving it and the brakes stop working. Maybe it makes a left turn instead, right? So your car is getting hacked real time,
What
and now
the hell?
you have these cars that have Wi-Fi within it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I don't want to say in 5 years I'm going to be that guy with a double-barreled shotgun in the cabins with a huge beard, but I'm definitely I'm it's
It
when
seems
people
like that's the safest place to go
yeah,
nowadays.
like, does my kettle really need Spotify updates? Like, but yeah, you have so many of these devices. There was actually they have villages in which there was different topics kind of.
Mhm.
IoT, it's just a room with tables and toasters. People bring their own stuff. And you just try to hack it. You grab a toaster, you get a cord, connect it to your computer, see what you can find, you know? Uh, and it's not so much of what it can do in that device, maybe. But
Getting to your network and all that.
there was this one for a children's toy that had a vulnerability. It was connected to the internet sometimes. But the thing
Mhm.
was, with this toy, when you bought it, it gave you the option to kind of input children data so it can make customized voices, whatever. So you put
Mhm.
name, data, um, you know, boy, girl, age. Well, that all goes to a database somewhere, right? Well, let's say you start doing research of that toy, you start taking it apart, and it's a Darknet Diaries episode too. But you take it apart, right? You see it's connecting to the website, whatever, this server, and you start looking into the server for security research, and you realize this database is public facing, as in you have 100,000
Wow.
kids' names, date of birth, and it's not that hard to find that information on the web. Go to your local library, your city hall. Um, yeah, so you have that public. A lot of things are public facing, and that's kind of where it becomes a hot topic of, even though it's public facing, did what it was it was business information. It was confidential in the sense it belonged to a business.
Mhm.
So that security research, was it illegal? There was a huge thing on there,
Okay.
the right to do research. And one argument is that um, you're trying to make it better. The other argument is that it can be used very maliciously. And that's why companies are coming out with something called bug bounties, in which if you see a vulnerability, you report it to the website, the company, and if it's a valid one, they pay. And that
Oh,
gives,
wow.
yeah, that gives you, people have it as full-time jobs. That gives you the incentive of, hey, before I put it on Twitter, maybe I should call, maybe, Google,
I should
Apple.
tell Samsung that my fridge can get hacked.
Oh yeah, dude. Like, why is my fridge playing Rihanna? Like, what
Did
is
you
this?
did you ever I'm pretty sure you watched, Silicon Valley? I think that's
Oh, yeah.
one of the episodes where the fridge was what caused the hack, and you got 4 geniuses, and they couldn't figure it out, and next thing you know, they're like, "It's the fucking fridge," and they, like
That's the thing. They're not. It's so common with businesses. They're not putting their devices and stuff within their business plan, within their risk shield. The risk environment. They may think we got all the controls, servos, everything else. Excuse me. But if someone has a rogue wireless, maybe it's a wireless extender, to
Mhm.
get more Wi-Fi into the storage room. Maybe they have a computer there, but that's not secure. It's all about, just all it takes is that one little opening. That's
I
very.
know a lot of business people are starting to bring their like, how affordable they are. They have a personal assistant speaker not only at home, but now at their desk. I've noticed that. I don't know if it's a trend that's barely starting, but I've seen that, like, couple people at work, not at my work, because to be honest, I work with people who are a little bit older. But at other companies, and they post on Snapchat, and they're like, oh, or like Instagram, they're like, oh, look, I have my Alexa at work, I have my Alexa at home, and I guess I'm pretty sure that's one of the weak points right there.
Yeah. The truth is, you don't know where a lot of that stuff is going. A lot of that stuff is proprietary by Amazon and Google. Occasionally you'll have the leak kind of insecurity research that will kind of do a deep dive into it.
Mhm.
But the truth is, for a large portion, you don't know where that data is going. Um, and will not have one in my house. I'm not standoffish on a lot of things, but I will not, just because it's a very gray area. I do think it will become more of a risk, as far as it is a very affordable thing. As far, gotta stop saying as far as, but when you do contests online, when you do raffles, they always give out an Alexa, a Google Home.
Yeah.
A lot of times they will do 2 for 20. You will find something like it at Ross. They are very affordable. I have been to houses, and they will have 4 within 100-foot radius. So when you say, "Hey Alexa," two other ones pop up, and yeah, I can understand one or two, but the truth is, they're in our homes,
Mhm.
in every nook, every crevice. Uh, it's kind of like cookies in a way with your computer. They're there, but as far as until we get a deeper look into what they're actually capturing,
Mhm.
I'm staying away from them. And I may sound like tinfoil hat right now, but I can be saying, "Hey, mom, we're out of toilet paper," and then I get a Charmin ad on my phone. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how
Unfortunately, that's
that's how it's going.
yeah. I guess we're way over an hour, and because this is just so interesting, man. And I know a lot of people probably will want you back for another episode. I'm down for that too. If you ever want to be back. But I guess we'll end it on this question because I know a lot of people are probably wondering is an FBI agent looking at me through my cell phone? Like, is that just an urban myth or is that
Yeah.
like?
Honestly, the truth of that is, I think a lot of people think too big of themselves. Uh, Yeah, yeah. We were hunting for Osama bin Laden for like 10, 15 years.
Mhm,
And the way we did that was through a lot of surveillance. And that's kind of where controversial came in through web street lights, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of that metadata, very small metadata. We're talking bytes of packets, just very small incremental, just to one stream in large quantities. So the fact of someone recording this session or recording your phone call, uh, it's very unlikely. If I would say to my friends who I don't know, maybe taking a little recreational stuff. I wouldn't be too worried. Now, what you should be worried about is, let's say, all distributing $500 weekly into your Cash App from your bank account. That's honestly not going to trigger the FBI. That's going to trigger probably your local bank, who will start a suspicious case that could bring in the authority. So, it's stuff like that, more the administrative side, the financial side, the banking side, um, that will kind of be that roadblock for you as far as, for example, like we said before, it may not be the FBI necessarily coming to your door for the whole dark web. It may
mhm.
be Time Warner first. For example, when you download a lot of stuff from Pirates Bay or uTorrent, it's not going to be the authorities who contact you right away. It's usually going to be Time Warner or Spectrum saying, "Hey, stop downloading Rick and Morty. It's going to be on Hulu soon. You just gotta wait." So I think a lot of people are going 0 to 100 when they gotta realize there's a lot of steps before you get to that.
And Becky, no one wants to hack your phone to get your picture of your pug. Like, is
I'm like, man, no, hey, that's when they watch the YouTube video, the 6-year-old on how to do it. Uh, no, I mean, we have this whole TikTok thing, et cetera, going on, little things like that. And, people will get their pitchforks and say we're not secure. And I think the truth is we just all have to realize, with technology and stuff, in no way are we secure. I take great strides of online privacy, and I have been in multiple breaches. I've had my social security stolen many times. It's just not a matter of if, but when for most people. And the truth is, you may hear something about the newest social media, et cetera. But the truth is, the ones that you've been using for the last 5, 10 years, look at Facebook. You have Cambridge Analytica that just happened. You have, little things over the years that have just been going to the news for 2 weeks. Maybe there's a Senate hearing or something, but, operations still as normal. You can still face marketplace, whatever. Nothing's really changed. So the truth is, As I guess I'm just going to end it with this as far as my end. As IT progresses, so does our threshold for risk. We're able to tolerate it more. We're able to tolerate the fallout of risk. It used to, hey, I'm involved in a data breach. Oh my God, my life is ruined. Are they going to steal my credit card? What? And now it's just, hey, reset your password. And it's okay, we'll look at it, every day, make sure there's none, but life goes on. And that's the truth, as IT progresses, security progresses, but also threat landscape progresses. And we just got to keep moving forward with it.
I guess it's kind of similar to like every day you're at risk of getting mugged, but that doesn't stop you from going outside every day, you know?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Now, of course, you can always take mitigations, but the truth is, you still got to get your, jug of milk from the local gas station or whatever. But yeah.
well, I want to thank you so much, Jonathan, for being on the show. That was just, I learned a couple of things and I got mind blown literally every 10 minutes. It was crazy. Where can they find you and tell us more about your blog?
Yeah. So my blog is Secure Macro. I'm trying to post stuff as much as I can. Hopefully 1 to 2 postings a month. You can always follow me on Twitter, God's Little Macro. I picked macro for the reasons, we discussed earlier, as far as, macros cause a lot of habit. But yeah, follow me on Twitter. I repost a lot of good stuff. Occasionally I post good stuff on my end, but a lot of times it's just, a bad joke with 2 likes. But hey, it's a wild ride if you follow. I also have Instagram with the same name.
Okay, there we go. You want to check out
Yeah.
his beautiful face. So thank you for being on the show. And thank you, the listener, for listening to this episode of Your Way with Noe. Of course, I just want to say a reminder to everyone that the podcast is available on all major podcast streaming services such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and now we're actually available on Amazon Music. Crazy. Yeah. So now for those Amazon lovers, we will also be on Amazon Music. There will also be a video version of this episode as well on YouTube that you guys can check out. You can follow me at Yo Soy Noe on Twitter and Instagram. And if you also ever want to discuss with me any of this episode or any previous episodes, I do go live on Twitter, on Twitch every once in a while, and under the same username. Uh, so once again, thank you for listening. My name is Noe, and this has been Jonathan Gonzalez's Way. Thank you.